And welcome back. A lot has happened on this car. So after the last video, I was looking at our timeline and we weren't getting the car done enough in the amount of time that we had remaining. So I jumped on it, my team has jumped on it, we just worked. We didn't record any of it, unfortunately, because we just needed to get it done. The good part is the car is done, it's finished, and we finished a week ahead of our schedule, which we wanted to have the car done by middle of August, and we beat it by 1 week, which isn't bad. So we are going to talk about all the things that happened since the last video, which was really putting the cage, finishing welding up the cage, and then driving the car. That was just a test drive to make sure that the engine worked, the transmission worked, and everything else. There's, like I said, a lot has been done since then. So let's go down our list and let's start talking about the car. We got the roof put on. Now, you guys saw me cutting it up and getting it fitted. What I have done is I ran sheet metal screws right into the top of the windshield, I don't know, the top of the windshield. And then I used conduit U-straps to strap it to our roll cage in 3 spots. So 3 screws up front and 3 U-bolts in the back. Lemons does have a rule that no sharp edges can be accessible to anybody. So I got this door trim and put it all the way around our roof. And so I did that. I also sanded it completely down. It's got a couple coats of primer on it and just a couple coats of this like battleship gray color. I didn't know what we were gonna do with the car color-wise, so I went with something that was kind of neutral, that can kind of work with any color, really. So there's our roof, and the roof is done. Now the cage. So again, last video, we talked about welding the cage in, getting it put in. Once that was done, we had to paint it all up, and we painted everything up. It's got 2 coats of primer paint and 2 coats of, I was shooting for gray, but when you order paint online, what shows up and what you ordered are sometimes 2 different things. And what showed up for me was aluminum. So our cage is painted with aluminum paint. There's not much else I can add to the cage that you guys don't already know. We have everything that is roll cage related painted this aluminum cover, including the mounting boxes. Yeah, so that is that, and we'll go right from the cage, talk about our roll cage padding. So this stuff here, this is super density or high density roll bar padding, and it's SFI rated. Basically what that means is in the event of a fire, this stuff will not melt. It will burn if the fire gets hot enough, but the important part is that it won't melt or get on the driver as the driver's trying to you know, get out of the car. This stuff here is low density foam. This is here on top of our high density, only to give us softer protection getting in and out of the car. This stuff, the high density stuff, it is almost hard like a plastic. I can still squeeze it just ever so slightly. And the reason, part of that is the energy that's involved in a wreck or a collision is the levels are so high that it's going to turn this firm stuff into a soft material with that much energy being exposed to the body. So that's why they want the high density stuff. The low density stuff, this is also SFI rated, but again, this is just for us getting in and out of the car in case we bump our heads and whatnot. It's just a softer protection for us getting in and out of the car. It is all zip tied in place. It's all facing the driver in all locations. And these zip ties they're rated at 200 pounds a piece, and I got about 55 of them holding all the padding in place. All right, so there's the padding. All right, next item that we're going to talk about is our steering wheel. We did have to get a new steering wheel because the position of our seat was sitting us a little bit too close for a dished steering wheel, which is what came with the car. So we've added the NRG quick release system, and right on the deal there, this is our push to talk button, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next safety item that we have is our full 6-point safety harness. This is also SFI and FIA rated. It's G-force, and it's got a cam release to do in and out really quickly. Would I do these seat belts differently? And I've had some, we've been in and out of this car a lot, and I'm wondering if maybe a different brand seat belt would have been better. I'm not 100% sure. They all seem to do the same things, but we are having one slight issue. We have a very thin driver, and a couple of us are very portly, me included. And we're having to adjust the lengths of these to fit the two different drivers, and it's not easy to do with this specific G-force seatbelt. But I can't imagine that the other, like Simpson, what's the other brand? I can't remember the other one. I can't imagine that they're any easier, but it just takes extra time to adjust. So there's our steering wheel and seat belts, and we'll be right back with the next one. The next item that we're going to talk about is our fire suppression system. Lemons requires fire suppression system to be installed in the car. It's part of their safety. It does not or is not included in your $500 car budget. Excuse me. So let's talk about the fire suppression system as the whole system here. You have the tank, you have the release handle, then you have tubing, and the Lemons series does not require 2 releases, but they are happier if you have it. So I went ahead and installed the second release handle, which is right behind our seat. The second handle behind our seat is for in case our driver is incapacitated and cannot release the fire suppression, a safety crew can come up and release it. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have a big E sticker. This is to show the safety crew. This is where they see this, they know to look for this right next to it. And we also have a safety sticker on our door, and there's a safety or E sticker on the door and an E sticker right next to our outside release handle. What's interesting about fire suppression system in a race car, particularly in the Lemons, I don't know how it is on other series, but in the Lemons, they don't specify where the nozzles should be put, how many nozzles there should be, and so on and so on. So it's kind of a gamble. You can kind of ask around, but everybody is different, is what I found out. So I kind of decided what would be best for me as a driver. And you don't want your fire suppression system to be aimed at your helmet. Odds are the fire is not going to be here anyway. But you also have to think about fire suppression system as not to extinguish the fire as much, but more as to give you time to get out of the car while the car's on fire. So with those in mind, our kit came with 5 nozzles. And you can imagine how much time there would be if you released it through all 5 nozzles with all the plumbing. So I took 1 nozzle out. I have 4 installed on this car. And we have 1 nozzle right here that faces the belly of the driver. There's another nozzle underneath the dashboard that faces the feet and the underside of the dashboard. And I chose that area because if there is an electrical fire, that's where really it will be. Most cases will be underneath the dash, because that's where most of the wiring in this car is under the dashboard. So there's suppression there. We also have two nozzles underneath the hood of the car or in the engine bay. There's one nozzle that faces the injectors and part of the fuel system, pretty much the entire intake manifold setup. And then they have a fourth nozzle that faces the exhaust manifold. That's a high heat, high ignition source. So once you release it, all four nozzles go at the same time until the tank runs empty. This is I think an 8 or a 5 pound tank. I can't remember which. I can't see it really quickly. We have it set up so that safety crew can easily identify that the tank is charged and ready to go. And you pull that pin, the system is now armed, and all you got to do is pull a red handle and it will release. So we do have this in to prevent it. I've talked with a couple of people about placement of the handle for the inside, and one particular racer says he sees a lot of people putting it inside a cubby of a car, particularly on a Miata, and he's not a fan of that, because what he says is, in a panic, when there's a fire, you're panicked, and you will grab that red handle and yank it hard enough that you will pull your dashboard out with it. And he said for easy muscle memory, it's right next to the shifter, right where your hand is all the time anyway. So it's very easy to go. This was his recommendation. He built Mazda Miatas for race teams, and so this is where I put him in. I put the inside handle for that. The plumbing, we can talk about the plumbing. The plumbing is mounted to the floor, so there's no movement there. There's no rubbing. It's a aluminum tube with a nylon or plastic coating on the outside of the tube. It was very easy to work with once you learn how bendable or mandible it is. I don't know if that's the correct word, but it was easy to work with. I didn't have to have a whole, I didn't have to have any special tools. I did have to buy these straps to strap it down, pinch it down in place, and we got that. So there's our fire suppression system, and we'll move on to some of our electricals in the next segment. Okay, so the next item we're going to talk about is our hose. Why do we have a hose here? It goes to this big silver can right there, and then this end goes to our helmet, just like so. It doesn't fit on tight. See, as I pull, it comes right off. So there's no worry for sticking to the driver when he's trying to get out. Anyway, it's helmet fresh air. If for whatever reason we're in an environment where it's just mucky, high humidity, or let's say we're stuck right behind during a caution or a red flag where we're stopped, and the car next to us just happens to have their exhaust bleeding right into our faces, okay? This will give us fresh air. It's filtered, and it doesn't blow a whole lot, but just enough to give us some fresh air. I don't know if this is something that we really needed. It was kind of thinking maybe for cooling, but it doesn't blow enough for cooling. I know that the off-road guys, the off-road racing community, they use these all the time. So that's what this is for. The next thing we're going to talk about is our switch panel, which is full custom made. The big rocker is for our helmet air. The other two switches are our fans, left fan, right fan. And the reason why I chose to do that is I did not want to rely on a sensor or the computer to keep the engine cool in this particular thing. We are endurance racing, and if a sensor fails, one, you have to diagnose it. Two, you have to replace the sensor. Replacing it requires opening up the cooling system, and then you got to bleed the air out of the cooling system. It's just a lot of things that happen, where if we take our fans and just make them manually controlled, we don't have to worry about a sensor. We don't have to worry about a relay, the computer turning on a relay. I did put relays and fuses on these circuits, so there is that. But it's a good circuit, and they work. I've driven the car a couple of times, and even just cruising down the street, one fan keeps the temperature at the right temperature. So we're good there. The next item down is this PowerPoint panel. You'll notice we have a voltage meter. That was the one thing that our instrument cluster does not have in a stock form, and I wanted to be able to monitor our voltage in case our alternator failed, or if we have an electrical system or something. If we see those numbers drop while we're driving down the road, we know that there'll be a problem. It just added insurance, I guess. And then our 12 volt power port is powering up or gives our radio comms power. So let's talk about radio comms. So another safety rule for Lemons is you have to be able to communicate to your pits. They don't tell you how. They do say that a reader board is perfectly fine. You can stand by the pit lane and go, hey, number 9, come in. The problem with that is we're going to be on an endurance road course that's 2.25 miles long. And so you're only by that pit reader board once every 2 minutes, 30 seconds or so. I doubt we'll be faster than that. But anyway, so for the remainder of the other 2 minutes and 10 seconds, a lot can go wrong with your car. So we decided that we wanted a communication radio so that we can talk to our pits. The pit person also will have a headset, looks just like the NASCAR style headset. It's big earmuffs, a big microphone next to his mouth, and then there'll be a radio antenna off that. So we've included this system, which is from Rugged Radio. It's one of the cheapest systems of this style that you can get next to just plain old walkie-talkie. But our helmets have a comm system in it, so there's speakers, and I don't know if we have a mic system as well. We plug it in just like so, and we're good to go. This here is a push to talk button on the radio, so that is all wired in, and now we can fully communicate and tell our pit that we're hungry or thirsty, or we need fuel, or the car's acting up, or whatever. And then the last item for safety I want to talk about that's inside the car is our mirror. So we do not have a driver's side mirror. Our car did not come with one. That's not true. It came with one, but it wasn't bolted up, and it was all busted without a mirror. So technically it didn't come with one. But during a test session on a track, my driver noted that it was hard to tell when somebody was right next to you, because since you're strapped in, you can't turn your head very well. So I decided to add this. This is something I've had in my collection for about 10 years that came from a customer's car long time ago, and it seems to fit the bill. It allows us to see all the way out to here, and on both sides, the whole back of the car, you can now see everything. So that was that's the last of the safety items that are inside the car. So that's it. Well, no, we'll go into, I can't remember what our next item we're going to talk about, but we'll be right back. I almost forgot to tell you guys about our kill switch. It is a safety requirement by Lemons, and it is supposed to be able to shut the car off at 3,000 RPM. So we have ours completely wired in. It will shut the car off no matter what you're doing. So if you suspect that there is a fire or any adverse problem with the car, everything shuts off. And I mean everything. The only thing that it will not shut off, no, it will even shut off the camera. So yeah, everything is shut off. There's nothing that this switch does not kill. So there it is. No, just kidding. The car's on the left. So why did we bring you guys downstairs or under the car? I want to show you what we've all done. So we've replaced the bumper because the original bumper was smashed from the previous owner driving it, and we also had to take it off to do a toe strap. Toe straps and the big toe sticker is a requirement from Lemons. It's a safety requirement. And then, so yeah, that all had to come off to get put on. The other thing that we wanted to do was I wanted a good exhaust system to allow as free-flowing exhaust as possible. And so we've got our downpipe all the way to a flexible pipe, to some exhaust that I welded up, to a splitter, and 2 cherry bomb mufflers with simple exhaust tips on it. The Lemons rules say that basically any car with a single cherry bomb muffler would be sufficient. They do have a noise penalty or a noise rule that can't be more than 94 decibels, I think, at 50 feet. And then it says any car with a cherry bomb muffler will work. So we are fairly straight, 2-inch exhaust to 2 cherry bombs, and then out it goes. So that's our exhaust system. The next thing, you already saw that we have adjustable coilover suspension that came with the car. We already did the brakes. Let's talk about our seatbelt mounts, which are here. These are 1-inch or 1/8-inch plate. It's a roll cage mounting plate that I cut in 3-inch circles. The rules want a minimum of 2-inch 1/8-inch washers, and so I made them 3. It goes right through the sheet metal, but they ain't never coming off. They are on. The hardware is grade 8, so it's super strong. One of the strongest things that we built. The next thing on the bottom of the car that I want to discuss are these snorkels. These are brake cooling ducts, and they're just zip tied in, except for the fronts. They're actually bolted in, but they just provide a little extra air to help keep our brakes cool under hard braking and track use. The other thing that I did underneath the car, I had this plastic shield here. I've had it for about 10 years. It came off of another customer car that replaced it. For some reason, I never threw it away. But this was all the way open from our grill opening to the radiator was this giant open spot. And one of the reasons that we got the car is the previous owner, his friend was driving the car, blew the head gasket. Now, I don't know why he blew the head gasket. It's possible that because there was no cover here, all the air that was trying to get into our radiator was actually going below the radiator underneath the car. So I zip tied this, I cleaned this up, zip tied it in place to try to get as much air into our radiator without losing it. And so we have that. And then that comes out to the front of our car, where we have another required toe strap, and then a aluminum screen that I made to try to protect our radiator from any debris that's on the track. So we'll be right back because we got 2 more items to talk about. Trick question. Did you notice something different about our car It looks a little different, don't it? Let me introduce you to the wrap. It's hard to picture it up close, but the wrap is a cardboard or a garbage box of cardboard. So that's our wrap. Now, how did we come up with this? Well, it was either this or paint the car. And I have a friend who does car wraps, and I asked him how much would it be to wrap our car, and he said it would be free if we put his name on our hood. So this is our first and only sponsor. So let's get a good shot of that. I want you guys to see all that. Mr. Garrett came out and wrapped our car for us. He asked us what did we want for our wrap, and I said, well, our team name is Turd, and our car, we're calling it the blank box. It starts with an S, and he said, say no more, I'm gonna come up with something, you'll love it. So this is what he came up with, and this is it. Our official car number is 9. That may change at our next race, but for our first initial race, our number is 9. That is, it was designated, or I was allowed to pick it from available numbers that hadn't been picked when I registered the team, and I figured our car was too small to have 2 numbers, so I went with the single number, and that was the only one that was available. All right, so next let's talk about something else. Why on God's earth is there a toilet seat on our car? Well, when you are driving the S box, there's a reason for it. And it's squishy. Ew. So this is our theme is this. So so there's our poop toilet paper. We have poop in the toilet, and we have a toilet seat on our car. It's all for fun. All right, we're gonna bring the car down, and we're gonna talk about the last thing that we've done to the car, which I'm really impressed with myself, and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's talk about this little thing with a cable. Can you imagine what this is? I'm sure you can. It's a camera. So I have family and friends that are all over the country, and they can't be at our race, but they would like to see it. And what's a better way for them to see it than to let them see it live as it happens? That's right. We are going to attempt, as cheaply as possible, mind you, to live stream this directly to YouTube while we are racing. Unfortunately, the camera is not a fisheye lens, so you'll only see the front. It pretty much has a view like this. I can't get my hands in the right spot, but you know, this way you see the headlight on that side. You don't see the headlight on that side, but it's there. Basically the front of the car, and you see a little bit of the roof in this orientation. We played with a lot of different spots of where the best place to put the camera: underneath the windshield, the front of the car, all the way in the back, on a roll bar. And the view just isn't, because it's not a fisheye lens, you don't get that wide field of view. So really, because it's such a narrow view, this is the best place. So this is called Action Camera, and it's made, you can Google, I think you can Google Action Camera. No, you can't. You can't Google it because it took forever for me to find this. My video person here will get a close-up of the name when we get to describing it. But Google the Action Camera with that name and you'll come up with it. And it's fairly inexpensive for what it does, but it's also not a high-end product. Basically, it's 2 Raspberry Pi computers and a lot of software in a 3D printed box. The camera's got a 3D printed shell, so it's economical for what you get. And this will allow us to, like I said, live stream it directly to YouTube. Except we needed to add one other item, and that is a mobile hotspot. We could use the phone, but my phone plan does not offer a big enough data plan for live streaming video and for the duration that we're going to be racing, which in theory is 8 hours on a Saturday, 7 hours on a Sunday. That's a lot of streaming. So that's why I decided to buy a mobile hotspot device. So let's take a look at that. It's just this unit. What this does is it picks up the cell signal and gives an internet access to our camera. And the internet goes, or the camera just sends it right to YouTube through the cell signal. It's the cheapest option for what we are attempting to do. Your next level up, you're looking at $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. I've seen it as the next level being $1,600. After that, you're into $2,500. And then after that, you're $35,000, $5,000, you know, it gets up there really quick to stream live video for this kind of duration. So that is the last item. Our action camera is underneath the dash, and it's a very simple hookup with the very simple instructions, and that's it. So there is our car and everything that we have done to it over the last month. Wow, that was a lot of work. I am very proud of the work that we've done. I can't be more happy. The engine runs good. It doesn't smoke, it doesn't shake, it doesn't leak oil, it doesn't make any weird noises. Like I said earlier, we did track test it a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, on that particular day, it rained, so we couldn't really open the car up, but that was the longest this car had ran, which was about 30 minutes. So total miles since we built the car, there's probably 15, if that. So anyway, in closing, we will be racing September 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 13th, which is a Friday, is our check-in and tech inspection and the BS inspection. We will be track testing the car that day. Hopefully it's dry so we can get it really dialed in. But you guys are welcome to tune in to my YouTube channel, and let's you know, see how well we do. I know that we are not the fastest car on the track. We definitely won't be the slowest. So hopefully, slow and steady, we will win, or at least rack up a lot of laps. That's our goal. Our goal is to finish, not necessarily to win. And as long as we maintain that, we just have a good time, then we win overall, because our goal, like I said, is just to finish and have a good time. That's what all this is about, just to have a lot of fun. So thanks for watching us. Thanks for following along with this journey. It's been a long year and a lot of work. I can't tell you how much work. This cage alone, how much work went into that. The videos don't really show the amount of work that myself, my welder, and my team has put into this car. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Like and subscribe. Let's keep this car rolling.